All right, so we've got our cutout, but the problem is it doesn't look much like a cloud. It looks more like a paper cutout. So I bring in new clouds. And notice that the skies do not match. So what do I need to do with these new clouds? Well, first, I'm going to use these same techniques. We're going to get really good at using the magic wand. And I'm going to use the same settings, 32 tolerance, contiguous turned off. And I'm going to select the background around this cloud. And then I'm going to hold down Shift, and I'm going to add some others, right? By having contiguous unchecked, when I click in here at this little vapor, it's going to click, or it's going to select every pixel that's that color or close to it within a 32 tolerance. So I'm holding down Shift, and that really cuts down my cloud. Then I select the inverse, and then I duplicate. And now I have a cutout of that cloud that I can use. And I might use this as the torso, for instance. Looks, it's like he just got out of the shower. His hair is all frizzy. Very nice. And I can just leave that there for now. If I want to, I can take its opacity down a little bit so I can kind of see where I need to shape it and work with it. Okay, another cloud reference right here. Now I like this because it's broken up. And this might be good for legs. You know, I can use something of that for like these little projecting legs. So how do I do it? Same thing. Select the blue space around, hold down Shift. Try to be pretty narrow in what I'm selecting. And if I want to add to it, because I'm going to select the inverse, I hold down Option, and I say, never mind, allow those. And if I want to, I can use my magic wand, and I can edit out this debris. Right? But clouds aren't necessarily clean things. So little bits of debris might not be the worst thing in the world. Okay, now I'm going to select the inverse, and then I'm going to duplicate. And now I have these cloud assets to use. Now, what do I not want to do? I don't want to transform them and rotate them with no regard for the lighting. You see? Because if this cloud's lit from above and this is lit from the side, that's not going to look right. So right now I'm just stacking them up. You know, those might work well for the back foot, something like that. Take the opacity down somewhat. And now let's bring in some more clouds. And if there's certain ones that just don't fit, don't worry about it. Don't use them. We are allowed to be selective. And because they're soft objects anyway, you are certainly allowed to grow them. So here, I'm going to select around my vertical cloud. Get that whole skyline in there. I can also use my lasso and kind of loop around big areas like this whole ground layer that I don't want. This cloud I don't really need. Right. And then I select inverse and I duplicate. So we're learning through repetition. Notice this cloud is a different color, but that's easy to work with, right? But now I'm going to enlarge it. And this has a lot of aspects I can use, just in different ways, in different places. In fact, I might leave some of those in. All right. So how do I make this color kind of fit more with the consistency of my other reference? I just go up to Image Adjustment Levels first. I want to play with the histogram a little bit, maybe make it a little bit more subtle or a little bit deeper, even limit highlights if I need to. But the levels look pretty good. This is really about the color temperature. And just playing with that. Again, practice of things we've already done. And just little decisions on white things like clouds make a big difference. So now that's kind of matching the color temperature of everything else. I can take its opacity down a little bit so I get a sense of what we've got. All right. And then one last reference. You don't need to overdo it with reference, but we're going to be using at least 5 different cloud references to build our project here. Now I've got these weird ones, these cauliflower-shaped clouds. These will be a little bit harder to select out, but I like that they're multi-directional. I can use these in a lot of different ways. So first I have to select all those blues. Very important to have contiguous unchecked. Right, it's a little exposed here, or underexposed, depending on how you look at it. So I don't want this stuff that's close to the edge. So I'm adding it into the selection with the Shift key because I'm then going to invert the selection. I know that's complicated, but with practice you will get used to that. Okay, and so now I invert it just to get this stuff, the stuff I want. So select inverse, and now I duplicate it, Command J, and I get just those aspects, and I can rotate them, and I can play with them, and they're gonna help me with some of the stranger edges on my creature. Okay, and I can fix the color balance of them. And especially the levels, since that blue was a lot deeper. So I'm going to limit the darks. See, that helps a lot. Maybe even limit the highlights a little bit. Okay. Now that edge does not look believable, right? So I'm just going to use a 100% very soft eraser, fairly large, and I'm going to get rid of all hard edges now. If you ever bring over hard edges, you need to tamp them down, because we want cloud edges, not hard edges. Okay, and I'm going to take that opacity down a little bit. Okay, now if I turn off my cookie cutter, does it look at all like my creature? No, not yet. So I'm going to use my cookie cutter here at the base to inform all the rest. And I'm not just going to erase it. So let's start with the head. So I've got this big cloud structure here. I'm going to go ahead and make a duplicate of it because there's so many good clouds I can use. And on this duplicate, I'm just going to erase out some big parts that are distracting at the moment with that soft 100% eraser. Notice it's only at 77%. And instead of just cutting it out, I'm going to try some other techniques to shape it. So first I'm going to warp it a little bit. You know, treat it like dough, push and pull in selective areas. Push down, push up. So I just want it to suggest the shape I want. Pulling back and forth. And it's okay to undercut it like that. Processing, processing. Notice I'm already at 1.2 gigabytes, so it's a good time to save this. So save as Carl assignment 4 cloud creature as a PSD file to the desktop. Saving will help solidify the cache of memory that you're using for this. Okay, so while it's saving, let me take it up to 100%. And I see those edges are pretty good at 100%. And so now I can see what's missing, right? These little horns. So how do I get that? Well, I can do that with my clone stamp. This is a big clone stamp project. I'm going to do it at 70%. I'm going to do it pretty big, always soft brush. And I'm going to target only the current layer for right now. So I'm working on a clone stamp within this same layer. I'm going to target from down here, and then I'm going to build up. I'm going to create some spikes that are believable by clone stamping them in. The other technique I can use, this is a new tool. Underneath above the dodge and burn tool, and underneath the paint bucket and gradient tool is the blur tool. We do not need the blur tool. We need what's at the bottom of that drawer, the smudge tool. Strength 50% should be okay, though it's a very strong tool. And if I want to push, like how wind pushes on clouds, and kind of smudge out edges a little bit, I can push into the cloud. I can push away from the cloud, kind of make something that suggests these horns. Smudge tool is great. If you overuse it, it will make things too soft though. But since we're using clouds, soft isn't usually the problem. So you can push things around that way. So let's see now if I get rid of the cookie cutter. You see that edge? With a little bit of softening through smudge tool, that's going to look pretty good. And then, some selective low opacity erasing. You can see where the dodging and where the clone stamping worked, but the problem with it is it's such a uniform edge that then I might need to go in and clone stamp the hardness of the edge too. So this is how you do that. Go to clone stamp, current layer, still a soft brush, but I'm going to steal this edge right here. So I target it there, and then I add that edge in right there. Same thing with this edge. I can bring that to the bottom here. Paint that in. What about the other side? No, that's too strong. There we go. So you can clone stamp the interior of the cloud, but you can also clone stamp the edges where it's appropriate. And then of course we can use our eraser and we can target it a little bit more. And we can shape that way. And we can take the opacity away from our eraser. So not taking away 100% at a time. It's all up to you. We're going for a believable cloud form. So what I'm trying to do is suggest this shape. Trying to suggest this kind of shape without having to match it exactly. First job is that it's a believable looking cloud. The second job is that it suggests our creature design. And that's why the silhouette of your cloud is so important. Now I'm going to go to this layer. These weird things in the front that really break it up. I'm going to play with levels again. Play with the midtones.